Hi, welcome back to Seed Porch Homestead. I'm Courtney. So I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday because her and her husband want to eat better, get healthier, eat better, but she is so frozen by a decision on, well, what do I cook? You know, you get used to what you cook, what your family likes, that you kind of get stuck and you don't know where to go. And there's so many things on the internet. You know, do you eat paleo? Do you eat AIP? Do you eat, you know, what do you eat? How do you put it together? There's tons of recipes, tons of information, and it can be confusing. So I want to tell you where to start. It's really simple. Small, easy swaps that you just start adding in instead of the ingredient instead of the ingredient that you usually use. So we in this house love our pizza. That is something that when JR gets home from the station, he wants pizza. It's a comfort food. I know that we all have comfort foods. And so what we have done is we started making it at home because that's better. If you make it at home, you know that you have control over your ingredients, what goes in it, the preservatives, yada, yada, yada. So we started making it at home. I quickly found that there were days that we would end up buying it again because it takes a long time to make pizza. You know, you make the yeast dough and that takes a long time. I even found a recipe for a dough that has no yeast. That still took a long time. So I want to introduce you to pizza puffs. They are simple and quick and I can control what goes into them and we still get our pizza and we do it probably too much now. But that's okay. That's okay. Okay, so we're gonna start with really the star of the pizza, and that's the pepperoni. And so one of the simple swaps is because for me, pepperoni, it has a lot of additives. There's nitrates, there's preservatives, there's lots of things that go into making pepperoni that they don't make me feel well, and I know it's not good for my family. So that's the first swap that we did. So I found these. It is Applegate Natural, and they're pork and beef uncured pepperoni. We like things that are uncured. Our bacon uncured, all of that kind of stuff. You can find that at the store. And these also don't have any nitrates added, which is really nice because nitrates give you migraines. It's something to think about. And then, you know, it also, no antibiotics and humanely raised. But anyway, so pepperoni, it's very easy. You get them, it's in a package, and what we're doing is we're gonna cut them up into cubes. So I used to just cut them in a big pile, and then I would I would have the girls come in here and separate all the little tiny pieces, but even that took a long time. So I've just found that this is just easier. Because it doesn't really matter what they look like, you just want them small enough, because the pizza puffs that we're making, you know, they're only like little circles. You'll see we put them in a small muffin pan. And so I have just found that rolling them and then I stack them and you cut them in half and then you just dice them. Is the quickest way. Don't judge me, chefs. I'm sure my knife handling skills are not what you would do. And really in these pizza bites, it's whatever you want to put in it. If you like mushrooms, if you like Italian sausage, if you like beef, whatever you want, you'll see that they're small, so you'll have to keep that in mind. You can't put a whole lot in them. Well, I guess if you wanted like a supreme, you could put it in a regular muffin tin because those are a little bigger. Now your time in your oven is going to change from what I'm showing you today, but that's part of cooking in the kitchen. And when you're cooking at home, you know, change it around, change it up for what you like, what works for you, what your family likes. And then, now you can't do this in baking. I know technically this is baking, but you can still play around. You take the recipe, do it a couple times with what it says to do, and once you are comfortable with the regular recipe, then you play with it. You change things around. You change your times if you need to change your times. It's kind of fun. I didn't always like the kitchen. But since we've been on this journey to eat better, I have gotten more comfortable in the kitchen because I have started to cook from scratch, and it's actually pretty fun. I have never thought I'd be there, but I am. Okay, so our pepperoni are diced and out of the way. We're going to move on to the next thing that is a very easy swap that you can make, and that's with your flour. There are many options with flour. You can have regular flour. The grocery stores normally carry like a organic, unbleached flour. That's nice. I have moved to a sprouted spelt flour. I think I've talked about this a little more in our einkorn sourdough video, but I'll tell you very quickly. So it's sprouted. That means that the enzymes have been released and broken down, and it'll be more digestible, and that it's spelt and it's an ancient heirloom grain. And so again, it's more digestible. And so there's that. So whatever flour you want to use, go with it. If you want to use the regular from the grocery store, that's okay too. You know that there is not a whole bunch of other preservatives in it, so it's still better. Okay, so this recipe, actually, we are going to triple it today. Last time we made this, I only doubled it because I couldn't remember, and there was not enough leftovers. JR likes leftovers to take to the station, so we're going to triple it today. So for a triple recipe, you're going to do 2 1/4 cups of whatever flour you choose. And I know you're supposed to be exact with baking, but I'm still just do what you do. Okay, so the next ingredient is baking powder. You have choices on this one as well. This I got from our local store. It's still not my favorite because this one includes cornstarch. I'm not happy about it, but they did not have the one that I liked. But more importantly, this doesn't have aluminum. There's no added aluminum, so I went with it. You gotta go with what you have, what you can get. But the best would be not cornstarch and not aluminum baking powder. And this is going to be, I don't have 1/4 of a tablespoon over here, so it should be 2 1/4 teaspoons of baking powder. That's 1, 2, and a little bit. Okay, the next one is your Italian seasoning. And this one doesn't really matter too much, you know, dry herbs or dry herbs. However, I do have a good hack for this one. I like to use organic dried herbs. I can't get that out. I like to use organic dried herbs. And I have found that if you order them on Amazon in bulk, and when I say in bulk, you know, like this is a little overkill. You don't always get this much, but like a quart of, say, chili powder. You can get it organic and it's much, much cheaper. Like I could probably only buy 2 small things like this for what I get a whole quart of organic seasoning. So that's just a tip. Amazon, your organic dry herbs. Italian seasoning, 1 1/2 tablespoons of dry Italian seasoning. The next is your salt. On this one, you have options as well. Try to stay away from table salt. I'm not gonna go into that. I can go so far into salt, we're not gonna go there. Let's just look at our swaps. Okay, so for salt, you can use Redmond's real salt. You can use Celtic, whichever one it is, CELTIC, sea salt, or pink Himalayan salt. I like to use the Redmond's, especially if I'm seasoning my plate or in baking because it's a finer grain. And so we're gonna use 3 teaspoons of salt. So that's an easy switch. I mean, all you're doing is buying a different brand of salt. You know, there's not too much thought that has to go into it. You just have to find where you're gonna source it. And I'll talk about sourcing in just a minute. Okay, so that's all your dry ingredients. We're just gonna mix it real good. And I know that was a lot. What we'll do is we will put a written recipe down in the description for you to look at. You can print it out, whatever you need to do. And so that'll be easier for you. Okay. Okie dokie. Artichoke. Okay. Okay, let's get to the wet ingredients. It's really just eggs and milk are your wet ingredients. And so eggs, I'm not going to talk a lot about eggs. We've talked about them before. We're just going to use our eggs from our backyard, but there's all kind of options on eggs. Just get some eggs. We're going to put 3 eggs in there. Will you get me like a fork real quick? Okay, all right, you got your eggs, and I'm just gonna lightly beat them. Not a whole lot. I'm just breaking the yolks. So the next thing is your milk. We're gonna do 2 1/4 cups of milk, and we are using our raw milk. I love our raw milk from our local. I say local dairy that it's about 2 hours away. So we love our raw milk. We love our raw milk. And so use whatever milk you have available. When you're baking, it's not as important, but if your kids or if you like to drink milk, if you can get your hands on some raw milk, it's the best stuff in the world. Okay, so there's our 2 1/4 cups of milk. Where's my fork? Let me get my fork. Here's my fork. Okay, and we're just going to mix this all together. Okay, it's going to look a little bit liquidy, and that's okay because we still have to add our pepperoni and our cheese. Oh gosh. I said oh gosh. You know what we have not done? Let's turn on our oven. Your oven needs to preheat, and we're going to turn it to 375. Turn our oven to 375. Okay, and while our oven preheats, let's get this finished. I'm going to put in our pepperoni. Now I found that one package for tripling the recipe is just fine. We just used the one package, and I don't even know how many ounces it was. I think it was like 8 ounces worth of pepperoni. Your cheese. We like to use organic cheese. You don't have to use organic cheese, just some kind of shredded cheese. The recipe calls for mozzarella. We like mozzarella, we use it a lot. I've also used the Italian blend that's got like Parmesan and Asiago Romano, I think. Today, I just looked. I guess I didn't plan this out very well because we don't have either one of those. But what we do have is a Mexican blend, and that's what we're gonna use because that's what we have, and we know that we like it. It's not gonna make that big of a difference. Okay, so we have our cheese. Like I said, we like the organic cheese. I feel like it's just a little better for you. But again, use what you have, use what you can source, use what's available to you. Don't beat yourself up. You're making it at home. It's still going to be better for you than if you bought it at the store. All right, 3 cups of cheese. Let me see, this bag, I usually pour the whole bag in. 6 ounces. Oh no, these little bags, these are a little smaller. If I had that 8-ounce bag, it was like 2 cups or something. I don't know. So we're gonna measure out. We like the cheese in it. Because there's something else that the cheese does. If you use a lot of cheese in it, the cheese, they look almost burnt. I'll show you. They look almost burnt, but they're not. It's the cheese, and it's really, really crispy. You know how cheese gets crispy when you bake it? That's what happens. I think that was 3. It looks good enough. There's a big old mound of cheese, so that's good. And then again, you just mix it in. Okay, so as you can see, it's firmed up a lot just by putting the other ingredients in it. Okay, so we have that stirred up. We're gonna put that aside. I'm gonna show you, I have another hack. Okay, so we're gonna use these little muffin tins because we like this size. They're like just little poppers. But again, this is what I was saying earlier. You can maybe use a full-size muffin if you wanna put a lot of ingredients in your little pizza puffs. That you're just gonna have to play with the time and the baking and the wetness, because if you add too many vegetables, you're gonna need to cut down your wet ingredients. Things to play with. So we're gonna need to grease our pan. Vegetable oil is one of those things, and I'm not gonna go deep into this again, but vegetable oils is, you just wanna stay away from vegetable oils. So I like to use coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil. So in this instance, you would either wanna use coconut or avocado oil. They do have them in the self-prepared, why can't I say that word? The can where it comes out by itself. But, you know, that has to be propelled by something, and so that's not necessarily something that I want to use. So I found this mister. I put avocado oil in there, and then you pump it up. It like has some back pressure, and then that's what I use. And just put a little bit in there. That's all you need, because once the first batch is cooked, you have the oil from the pepperoni and you don't have to oil it again. And these things pop right out of this pan. Okay, so that's my hack on oil. Coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil you want to stick with just on like salad dressings and stuff. You don't really want to cook too much with olive oil. Put it in your own mister, and there you go. You have your own oil spray. Okay, so let's get this batter into our pan. I like using my cookie scoop. This is probably about like a tablespoon cookie scoop, and it works perfectly for these mini muffin pans. And all you do, it's super simple. Just put them in there. Perfect timing. So we're gonna leave them in the oven. My oven, we're gonna leave them in for 22 minutes. The recipe is for 20 to 25. So again, between your altitude and your oven, you're just gonna have to play with that. And I'll show you when they come out. Okay, so let's talk about one more ingredient, the last ingredient, because as you saw, there was no pizza sauce in that. And what we do is we take those scrumptious little pizza puffs and we dip them in pizza sauce. So you can either buy pizza sauce, which is totally fine, but one thing that I would have you do is to look at the ingredients. Anytime you buy something, turn it around and look at the ingredients, because there's all kind of things in there that you really don't want. Sugar is one of those things that is a personal choice. Just look, because most tomato sauces of any kind have sugar, but there are ones that don't have sugar. But look at your ingredient list. What we did, because JR is so good at growing tomatoes, was we made our own pizza sauce. That's a video for another day. It does take some time, but the payoff is wonderful. So what we do with that hack is once we make the pizza sauce, I put it in ice cube trays to freeze it that way, and then I pop them out and I put them in our little handy Ziploc bag. And so we have found that for this triple batch we need 5 pizza sauce little cubes, and that is actually works out really perfect. That's what's left in this bag. So we're gonna take these 5 little pizza cubes and we're gonna put them over here on the oven. On the stove. Y'all know what I'm saying. And as those are cooking, I'm gonna put it on low, because you just need them to melt and get hot. And so we're just gonna leave them on the stove on low heat and let them defrost and get warm. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, they are done. I wanted to show you. You see that? That's not burnt. That is crispy goodness from the cheese. So I would be remiss as a nutritional therapy practitioner if I did not mention one thing. These pizza puffs are not really protein packed. So I would suggest, and one of the great things that you can do is add whatever protein you want as a side. So like an Italian chicken, either baked or in a saucepan, however you do it. An Italian chicken would be great as the main portion. You put these on the side. You can maybe add some greens, like a nice salad or some broccoli. We like to do some oven fried. We like it really crispy. Broccoli. So that would make a good addition to this meal instead of eating these all by themselves, because they will spike your blood sugar and you probably will have a little crash later, but do what you want to. So thanks for watching. If you would like to see more of what we put on our YouTube channel, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell, give us a big old thumbs up, let us know that you like what we're doing. If you want to know any more about the nutrition side, we'll pop a link in the description below where you can sign up for Traditional Provisions monthly newsletter. Well, I say monthly, I like to do it maybe twice a month or so, to get recipes, tips, more nutrition information. Also, the recipe will be written in the description below. You can find it there, and we will see you next time.